Hey guys, welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. It's March 12th, 2022. And I've been doing this show for a long time, and I know that's not Steve. So what have you done with him?
I don't know. Not sure. We're
Steve's out on assignment today, so our producer Rob is filling the chair. Welcome, Rob.
Good morning. How are you, Jim?
Good, good. Another snowy day in the Northeast.
Another snowy Saturday. Must be the fourth one we've had all winter.
Yes, yeah.
It always seems to hit on the weekends, which is horrible.
Yeah. So listen, let's jump right into it, Rob. I got the monologue this week, and it's something I want to just finally. Last time, just like we decided we didn't want to talk about Kyrie Irving anymore, I want to talk about Aaron Rodgers because you and I and Steve texted all week, and it turns out that this guy really, it's plainly obvious, was all about the money the whole time. Right? His contention was he didn't want to play in Green Bay. He didn't like the management. Well, the management didn't change. The coaches didn't change. He got his contract, so he's now the highest paid quarterback in the history of the league, maybe the player all time from a single season perspective. So he got his deal. He's 38 years old. He's got four-year deal worth of $200 million. And it turns out that's what it was about the whole time. I mean, not just whatever reasons he wanted out of Green Bay, but something changed. And what changed? They opened the vault, they gave it to him, and now they're on the hook. And like I said, he goes into the season with still one Super Bowl victory in his entire career, and Green Bay is banking on him. I really I liken it to the kind of a James Harden situation. What are your thoughts on Rodgers signing that deal and the 4-year commitment from Green Bay?
It just seems crazy. I mean, the guy has all the money in the world already, and he has to go fleece the Packers, which is going to really prohibit them from, like I said, they always have a good team. They win 12, 13 games a year, but then, like I said, he goes to the playoffs, he falters. So how is having this big contract, besides stroking your ego, how is that really helping your team?
It's not.
It's not.
It was all about Aaron Rodgers the whole time, and I hate when these teams buckle under to these players' unreasonable demands. And but listen, I mean, he is a great quarterback. There's no question about it. But the whole time about him thinking that Green Bay wasn't committed to winning was all baloney, and he got his contract. And hey, listen, spend it wisely, Aaron. Spend it wisely.
He's already very unlikable, and he gets more unlikable every year.
Yeah, that's exactly what you said when we were texting before. He's even more unlikable now, and you were absolutely right about it. Mm-hmm. So listen, our monologue was sponsored by Coriano Trucking, of course, from Summerhill, New York, loyal sponsor of the show, and we continuously thank them. So Rob, let's jump right into some NCAA basketball, and we know the tournament's coming up, and I got to say, this year, I don't know, maybe because we missed it over the past couple of years, wasn't the same with empty stadiums and whatnot. But even the conference tournament games have been just as exciting as what we're going to expect from the NCAA tournament. And we got a lot of stuff to talk about. What stood out for you in the conference tournament?
Well, I mean, I focus really on one division. I'm a Big East guy. I cover Seton Hall. I was there at the Garden Thursday night. That St. John's Nova game was incredible, especially, St. John's is like the home team, so to speak, and they were well represented by their fan base, and Nova always travels well. So that was a great game down to the end. Unfortunately, my Pirates didn't show up against UConn, but it was good to see, and it's good to see the fans back in the stands, like you said. And what I noticed starkly was the UConn's Seton Hall game. There was a tremendous amount of UConn fans there, way more than Seton Hall fans. And a lot of us in the media were saying, well, it's because this is their first really chance in the Big East since they came back to have fans watch them play in the Big East tournament. And they all came out. They were loud.
Well, just so you know, and Rob is on record, which I'm I'm kind of on the fence whether or not Seton Hall still gets an at-large bid, but they do play in a pretty good conference in the Big East.
I'll tell you what. When we go to our Notre Dame game this year. If they don't make it, if they make it, you're buying lunch one day.
Okay, fine. But listen, with college basketball, like you said, you're a Big East guy. I'm a MAC conference guy, but my Niagara Purple Eagles got knocked out, and Steve's Boston University team had a good run in their tournament, and they didn't make it. So there's been great games, but one team that I thought still may get an at-large bid is Iona, and we talked a little bit about it last week because who's the coach of Iona? And he's got a pretty good record there, is Rick Pitino.
Mm-hmm.
So if he doesn't get in, like I said, keep your eyes out. He may still take that Maryland job, no matter how much he denies it.
Well, I'll tell you, it's funny you mentioned the Maryland job because there's a lot of speculation that our coach Kevin Willard is considered there, and I'm on record to say I'm not a big Willard fan. So hey, if he takes the job, have fun.
Well, listen, that's kind of a step up, I would think, from Seton Hall altogether, right?
I think it's more lateral. I think Maryland's more lateral, while Louisville would be a step up.
Yeah, I don't know. When you base it on history, Maryland's got a pretty good track record, and they got a couple of national championships. So I wouldn't be surprised by that if he's offered the job. I would take it from Seton Hall. No, nothing personal.
No, and you know what? That allows us to hire from within, or with Grant Billmeyer, former great player of ours, or Shaheen Holloway, who's at St. Peter's, in your league, playing for the championship today.
They are, yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So there's a lot of still open questions. Indiana's made a real good run in the Big Ten. They're playing in the finals. Arkansas looks really, really good in the SEC. And I wanted to give a shout out to Bryant University, who made their first big dance appearance this year. I don't think they've had even a basketball program until 2014, but that was pretty good. It was actually marred by some unruly fan behavior.
Yes.
But I had a loyal listener of ours, Andy Carolyn, Bryant guy, certainly made sure that I knew that they were going to the big dance. So I wanted to give him a shout out for that.
I saw some, I don't know if you saw this, Jim. There was some video where when the Wagner team was pulling up to the campus, they were like Bryant fans, like giving them the finger, swearing at them. So this might have started way earlier than we expected.
You're right. You're absolutely right, Rob. Yeah.
I mean,
but
sometimes you act like you've been there before, right?
Right, exactly. And Bryant's never been there before, and they acted exactly like that. So unfortunate. But listen, we got a little history with Bryant. My nephew was the pitching coach at Bryant University, so wanted to give them a shout out. And look, a couple other surprises, right? North Carolina got knocked out of the ACC tournament. But who's the team that, and we talked about this to a great extent last week with Coach K's final season. I like Duke as one of my sleepers to make kind of unexpected noise. When the season started, I don't think a lot of people gave Duke much of a chance because, even though it was Krzyzewski's last year, but they're really playing well. And another team that's really playing well come tournament time is Kentucky.
It's funny. They always one thing they say a lot is that the SEC, Duke, Kentucky, that's like the one and done schools. So while the Big East, the Big Ten, the MAC, those are the programs where the people are going to stay at least 3 years. The players.
You're right.
So it's kind of like you see the difference in the play every year.
Yeah.
And that's why the biggest tournament, the big dance, the NCAA tournament is fascinating because you always have that one team like the Loyola of Chicago's who are full of seniors who will come in and beat these one and done teams because they have that cohesion.
Yep.
Playing together for those 2, 3, 4 years.
And we talked about Loyola Chicago a little bit last week. They did in fact make the dance, and this is this is why the tournament itself is so exciting when teams like that make it.
Oh yeah.
I don't think Sister Jean is still with us though, is she?
I think she is. I mean,
is that
God
right?
bless her. If she had passed away, I think we'd known about it. I think she's still
kind
there.
of was wondering if I missed it or not.
No, I'm pretty tuned. I haven't seen it, so I think she's still there.
So when you think about it, Rob, Selection Sunday is obviously coming up. So you got to think. I'm going to give you my final, my number one seeds, right? The obvious ones are Arizona and Gonzaga, but I like Baylor may have blown their chance at the number one seed. So I think the third one could be Auburn, and I think here's a surprise. I think they may slip Kentucky into a number one seed. Who do you like?
Yeah, I think I like the ones you said. I think from like say the Big East, I mean Nova may slip into a 2 seed. I think Providence. I said this all along. Providence was a really good team, and they won the regular season for the Big East, but they missed a lot of teams during the COVID era, the COVID few weeks. Teams that like they beat Seton Hall, we had 7 players, right? They didn't come and play us at home, so I think they were a little exposed in the Big East tournament. So I might hurt them as far as seeding. But as far as what you said, the top seeds, yeah, I agree. Well, those 4, maybe a Big Ten team, maybe will sneak in there. We'll see.
Yeah, well, like I said, Indiana's playing in the Big Ten, so they could make some noise. Not as a number one seed, but I can't wait till the seedings and get your brackets all done and stuff, because it's one of the most exciting sporting events that there is. I'm looking forward to it. And listen, the sentimental thing, you got to be rooting for Coach K. I mean, would this be an unbelievable scenario for him to win it in his last year? But overall, and I know it's early, I think Gonzaga, of all the teams, they're just there. They get that top 4 team year after year, and they always come up short. I like their chances this year to win it all.
Yeah, they don't get. Obviously, it's a cliche, but they don't get clipped early. They have staying power in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I like their chances, though. I mean, I just they get so close year after year after year. So anyway, so Selection Sunday, and we'll catch up next week. So we'll be down to the Sweet 16 by the time our next show is on next week. So looking forward to talking about that in a little bit more detail.
Yep.
So, Rob, let's move on. I guess the other biggest story, the Major League Baseball lockout has ended, which we kind of expected. We talked about on the show last week, said it'll probably last another week, 10 days, and that's kind of what it did. So everybody's getting back to work. They salvaged the 162-game season, which is no surprise. I mean, there's plenty of time to fit those, first 2 series that they originally canceled out. What's your overall view on the lockout, and who won, or did anybody win?
I don't know. The old, like I said, the old adage: billionaires versus millionaires, right? And we're the ones left out in the dust. The normal folk.
Yeah,
I guess they both won, right?
Well, I mean, when it comes down to who won, I guess you're right. In the sense, everybody won. They adjusted some of the salary cap, and they raised the minimum salary to $700,000, and so I think each side got a couple of points. But the bottom line is, I don't think it had any kind of a negative impact on whether people are going to boycott baseball or say it's going to take time to get back. I think people have been starving for this to get underway, and I think everybody wins here. But again, it's still going to cost you $500 or more to take a family of 4 to a baseball game, which is why we're talking about this strike and lockout altogether, because it was about money.
Hey, Jim, baseball is the one sport. Now, I'm a Yankee fan. I can watch a Yankee game on TV any day, any night.
Yep.
But that does not ring true for any other team on TV. I mean, maybe Marlins. I follow the Marlins too. But baseball is the one sport. Like football, I can watch any game on football. It's on TV because it's an exciting sport. Baseball, if you're not a fan of a team, there aren't that many people who are just going to put on a baseball game and be entertained by it. It's long, it's boring, it gets quiet. So they gotta look at that. Now, let's flip that coin a second. If you're a Yankee fan in this area, I think you mentioned $500 for a base, take a family of 4 out. Go to Hudson Valley, go to Somerset because you got some great prospects right in our backyards who are going to be in the Bronx in a year or two. Go watch them now, have fun, and spend maybe a quarter of the price.
Oh, and absolutely. We've talked about this. You're right. The Somerset Patriots or the Rockland Boulders, minor league baseball, it's reasonable and it's definitely alternative. Obviously, you're seeing, guys that may or may not make it in major leagues, and you want to see the big stars. But again, with the astronomical numbers these guys are making, there are alternatives out there. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, go see The Martian. Go see Volpe. They're going to be real close by.
Yep.
And you may get an autograph too. You never know.
Yep.
Now, I'm surprised. Now, Jim, real quick, I'm surprised that, especially for the Yankees, we haven't done anything yet. We have not done anything yet. The walls are lifted. The curtain's up. Do something already. What are you waiting for? And real quick, Monday is going to be one of the best days in sports in a long time because you're gonna have this MLB truck running full speed and NFL free agency opens up.
Yep.
So Monday, watch your phone, watch the headlines because it's gonna be fast and furious.
Well, and that's exactly what we've been sitting around waiting for. Mm-hmm. Right? Listen, behind the curtains, don't think the Yankees haven't been working behind the scenes to know what their strategy is. Are they going to sign Freddie Freeman? Are they going to sign Carlos Correa, right? Those are the guys I think you're talking about that's going to start happening, and it's going to start happening quick because we have a condensed spring training. And and a couple of already notables, right? Clayton Kershaw signs a 1-year deal to go back to the Dodgers. So those dominoes are starting to fall. Yeah.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, so that's exactly what's on the horizon in the next week. Is there's not a lot of time for them to get their roster set and the free agents. And listen, I think the Yankees are going to make some big noise because the Mets have made a lot of noise already, and the Mets might not be done. I mean, Scherzer is maybe the tip of the iceberg, and we talked about it. Why they can do this? It's a big market team, but a luxury tax means nothing to Steve Cohen, so there's a lot of money to be had out there.
Isn't there some Steve Cohen tax now? I was hearing about.
I think that's what they're nicknaming it, right? It's like in the Russell Westbrook kind of mode, right? You play on words, but that's happening, and there's already been, like Carlos Rodon left the White Sox, signed a 2-year, $44 million contract. So obviously, there's plenty of money out there for these free agents, and that's going to start happening soon. I guess the big question from a Yankee fan perspective, are they going to give Aaron Judge the kind of money that they gave Mike Trout? What do you think?
I think they probably have to because of just the fact that he's the face of the franchise. He's probably your next anointed team captain, which we haven't had since Derek Jeter, even though I always thought Brett Gardner was your de facto captain all these years. He should have been really named 4 years ago. I mean, he was your last lifer from the farm system who was there. And he goes. That's my opinion. But I think you gotta sign Aaron Judge to a decent contract. I don't think he's going to get that $300 million, but he'll get 250, 225.
But Rob, when you look at what the money that's out there, if a Corey Seager gets $300 and some odd million, then Aaron Judge is going to get that kind of money too. It's
the problem with if you're a Yankee fan is that if the Yankees don't make him happy, he's gonna stay where he lives now and go to the Queens, go to the Mets.
Oh, I cannot see that. But you know what? I've seen crazier things happen. But you're right. You watch the Mets. I don't know. The Mets are still gonna. There's still gonna be one big free agent that they're gonna sign, and again, I don't know that it could be a Freeman because where are you going to put him? You know, you got your first base guy in Alonso already, so
I think
you
it's
know
an
that's the
outfielder,
reason.
right? They're missing an outfielder, right? Like a stud outfielder, kind of.
Yeah, but I mean, who's out there with that kind of Scherzer appeal for the Mets? I don't know that there is one right now. You know, I mean, the young guns are getting their money, right? The Sotos and those guys will get their money, but maybe he holds out and he ends up in Queens next year. We'll see. You know?
Now, if you
So
watch the
that's
show, now real quick,
sure.
talking about entertainment. If you watch the show Billions, that's who it's about. And you
I know.
know, if that's anywhere close to reality, he don't care about money. He
Oh no,
he has that ego that he wants to stroke his ego and have that trophy in his mantle somewhere, you know.
and it's a foregone conclusion. You're right. It was based on the guy from Billions. He's got that kind of money where money isn't an issue. And in baseball now, you could just pay people at will. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Kind of, you know, I know you're. I'm not a big hockey guy. I know your brother Steve is. That's what
I
kind of
am
amuses you
too.
about hockey. There aren't that many really huge contracts, so a lot of those guys play for the love of the game.
And they what the difference is that they show up. They don't have lower body injuries. A guy the other day on the Islanders took one right in the face, broken jaw, and he was playing in the next day. It's unbelievable.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. But you know what? The NHL has gotten, they are starting to pay guys. They were always like last in the four major sports about guys making money, but they're starting to make the money that I think is certainly warranted in the NHL, you know.
Now again, I'm sure Steve's gonna be happy about this. I think the Rangers are primed to have a pretty good run. I mean, I don't follow hockey that much myself.
I do.
But,
I
the
know.
Rangers look like they're primed to be a contender.
Yeah, and so the NHL trading deadline is actually coming up pretty soon. So there will be, and they do it just like baseball, right? Teams that are in the playoff hunt, and a guy coming to the end of his career with a team, not like Crosby's going anywhere, but there's always those big names, and I think the Rangers may get involved. But just like you said, they got a lot of great young talent that you don't want to part with. But I'm thinking of like a Claude Giroux or somebody from Philadelphia, those kind of players. We'll see how that transpires.
Now, Jim, a quick question for you. It just hit my mind. With all this happening in the other part of the world, has there been any backlash to the Russian players?
Well, we touched on it a little bit last week, and I think it's unwarranted. I mentioned Dominik Hasek, former all-time great goaltender, advocating that they suspend Russian players from the NHL, and he actually called out Ovechkin by name. And I completely disagree with that. I mean, I don't think these guys are not the ones that have driving tanks into the Ukraine. They're hockey players, they're sports players, and it's gone. Yes, the answer to your question, there's been feedback and fallout all across the sports world with boycotting Russia. And, it only hurts the athletes, but to call out, Ovechkin personally, I think is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, he's a Russian born player. There's a bunch of them in the league, but I think it's unwarranted that they're catching the grief that they are catching. You're right.
Yeah, you're right. You're correct.
So
now the soccer team's different because that's government sponsored.
Yes, it is. That's
These
exactly
guys are just,
difference.
that's their nationality. That's their home.
Yep, that is the difference. You're right. But listen, Rob, let's move on to the NFL because there was some other, some big news, and again, we're coming up on the draft, so the combines have been underway, and a lot of kids impressed. And this one guy in particular, this Jordan Davis, this guy from Georgia. He's like 370 pounds, and he ran like the fastest 40 combine under 5 for a guy that big.
Wow.
Incredible. But what come out of that, guys like Malik Willis, quarterback from Liberty, there's a lot of news went on in the NFL this week. And first of all, I want to say our NFL segment is sponsored by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut. But Rob, when you look at what's gone on, right? The Colts traded Carson Wentz, and I can't figure out for the life of me why Washington would agree to pick up his $28 million salary for the year, but they did. Deshaun Watson got, and I want to say vindicated from a legal perspective, so no charges will be filed against him. He's going to face civil suits for the rest of his life. So now he's a quarterback that's, marketable, right? So the quarterbacks with Garoppolo and Deshaun Watson and big trades this week with Russell Wilson, which I thought was big news going to Denver. And Denver gave up a lot to get him. And Steve and I talked about it last week. I'm a big Russell Wilson fan.
So am I.
But to me, that doesn't make Denver automatic Super Bowl contenders because I don't think they have enough around him anyway.
You give away your tight end who was beaming with potential, right? He was getting better this year, and then other players, and then draft picks on top of that. I'm surprised what's his name hasn't retired yet. Pete Carroll. I don't think he's long for another rebuild at 7 years old.
Yeah, he's kind of made a mess of it in Seattle lately because, I mean, they even they released this guy who's one of the staples of their team for years, is Bobby Wagner. They didn't even tell him that they were releasing him, So I think Pete Carroll may be the oldest coach in the league, but you're right. Time seems to be slipping away from him. But I wanted to mention that Russell Wilson deal, but I just don't think that's enough to make Denver an instant Super Bowl contender.
No, they're playing. They're still going to battle for the basement in that division. They're all going to be great. Look at the Raiders with Josh McDaniel. That could be a whole different ballgame now with him as coach.
Yeah,
and they're a couple pieces away. Will the Chiefs stay on top? That's the big question. I think they're starting to show cracks, right? And then you have the Chargers only can get better, and are young, and they have money. They have money to spend.
And the Chargers just got Khalil Mack. I don't know how much he has left in the tank, kind of thing. But you're right. The AFC is really a powerhouse league.
And my Steelers, I'm excited to see because we're a quarterback away.
Well, what do you think you guys are going to do?
I'm seeing anywhere from Winston to Garoppolo to, maybe they spend some money and bring somebody else in.
Is Deshaun Watson a possibility?
What's that?
Is Deshaun Watson a possibility? As a Steeler fan, they don't like to give away draft picks, and it's going to cost a lot to get them. Or do they go with this guy Willis from Liberty?
We'll see here. I think they're in a position now because I think not. Again, we everybody speculates before the draft, but there aren't any really great quarterbacks this year. So are they gonna rush to the top as usual? Or are they gonna start falling back where they should? I think this is a big year for offensive linemen, so that might push some of the quarterbacks deeper into the first round. But I wouldn't mind I wouldn't mind Winston there, and I wouldn't mind Trubisky there because I think he learned a lot in his 1 year in Buffalo. And if he comes to the Giants, I think he's gonna knock off Daniel Jones by week 6.
I knew you were going to somehow get to that because I'm a Daniel Jones guy. But yes, I think Trubisky is going to join Dable and as the backup, and he'll push Jones. I think it's Jones's job to lose. We've seen Mitch Trubisky. He's not a top flight quarterback. He's much better as a backup than what we have in Mike Glennon, obviously. But I can see Pittsburgh going with Malik Willis. I think that's the kind of player that Mike Tomlin can kind of mold into his own. And, listen, it's going to take a year or two. Rudolph and certainly Haskins is not the answer in Pittsburgh. So, maybe this breaks the streak without a quarterback of their every year winning record for Tomlin, who's been stellar as a
we'll see. It'll be an interesting year. And I'm hoping to get to a game this year myself. So Notre Dame and hopefully Pittsburgh this year. We'll see.
Yeah. So there's so much going on with the NFL. Like I said, the offseason, the quarterback carousel kind of thing. But we'll table that for now. But there's a lot coming
Jimmy,
up.
ask you a quick question. You're a Giant fan.
Yep.
What do you want to do with Saquon Barkley?
This is a very sensitive subject for me because we've of course been taking criticism for taking him number 2 overall. At the time, I thought it was the right move. He was that kind of a player. It just, for some reason, I can't explain why it's not working out. And, his first year was promising for sure. I still think he's got a lot of talent and ability. I just don't think it's going to be in New York for whatever reason. I can't explain it. I got some egg on my face because I thought this kid was going to be a star in the Emmitt Smith kind of mold, and it has not worked out. And I think for the amount of money they're going to have to pay him, I think his days in New York are over, but I still think he's going to be a player in this league.
Here's the problem, though. Last year, who was the backup? Booker?
Yeah, and they cut him already.
And he had better stats than Barkley. I'm surprised about that, right? I think,
but there's some I can't explain it. I mean, every now and then Barkley would get a 40-yard run, but every other play was -1, +1. And it was frustrating. Yes, the Giants didn't have an offensive line that's even worth talking about, but even Barry Sanders managed to get some yards with a crappy team in Detroit. And I view Barkley in that same vein. It just hasn't proven to be the same level what Barry Sanders delivered.
Here's one name I'd watch out for: Chase Edmonds. Chase Edmonds is a free agent, and he has burned us so many times that they may fall in love with this guy.
Yeah, he was the Cardinals or something?
Yep, from Fordham.
That's right. He did. Actually, he had his game of his career against the Giants last
Twice,
year.
I think. Twice.
Yep. Yeah, so we'll catch up with that. Let's move on, Rob, to the NBA real quick.
I got to gloat because no one again. I didn't watch the game. I was at the Garden watching the Big East tournament, but no one expected the Nets to come in and spank the Sixers like they did. When I saw that, I was like, yeah, I was so excited in the press. I was like, ah.
Yeah. Okay. The Knicks, they get that win, and they had a big.
You got a comment from NFL.
Yeah. Okay, I guess we're referencing NFL bust, but I thought Blair Thomas, Penn State running back, had that same kind of promise and future, and that didn't work out either. I think his was more of an injury. I know Barkley's been injured, but he's 100%, and he's still not getting things done. But good point, Mr. Garvey. Thank you for mentioning that. So, Rob, the NBA real quick. Very big surprise as well. They went in and beat the Mavericks by like 40 points on the road. But overall, what a disappointment for the New York Knicks. What a horrible season. And everybody thought that they had it all lined up, right? Based on their season last year, Randall was going to be this breakout guy. And he's had great games, but he's a troublemaker, and the Knicks are nowhere close to being contenders. Certainly not in New York.
Where's Worldwide West? Everybody only heard about Worldwide West is that he's a part of the Knicks now. Where is he? He's never around. Right? Who's the GM you guys hired?
Oh, Leon Rose.
I mean Rose. Yeah. Where is he? He's hiding more than what's his name did? Phil Jackson.
Yeah.
And he was paid to work in California.
Oh, Phil Jackson was absolutely a joke. When he was the general manager. It was a joke. But you're right. I mean, they brought Leon Rose as going to be the savior for the Knicks, and where are they now? But the NBA, and the other story is, can the Nets pull this together? Durant is back, Irving's back, but Harden's back in Philadelphia. So he thought they couldn't win it in Brooklyn, so he held hostage and held the Nets hostage, forced them to trade to Philadelphia. They're not going to win an NBA title there either. Not with just him and Embiid. Yeah, Maxi's a good player, but that's not enough. So he made a big mistake. But the question is, do you think the Nets can rally? They've lost 17 out of 20 games. Can they Can they pull this together? I still think Kevin Durant is the best basketball player in the league, but is that enough?
I think yes, because I think quietly the additions of Andre Drummond and Seth Curry. Seth Curry replaces Joe Harris, and Andre Drummond. We really haven't had a decent younger center in a while. I think him and LaMarcus Aldridge.
I thought Aldridge was supposed to be that guy.
But he's older, so he fills the role. So I think the two of them together, with Nick Claxton kind of filling in at the 4 and 5, are going to do very well. And I think Patty Mills is the winner. So I think we can do it. Now we just got to get New York to lift that mandate. Or I heard last night on the radio, I think the NBA is so frustrated now with what's happening in New York, and they're, let's no more indoor masks, but the private sector you have to wear a mask. So I think what I heard last night was I think David Silver and NBA are just going to say F it and pay the fine and let them play anyway.
Well, I think we've all at least agree that this vaccine mandate is ridiculous. If fans and away players can play in New York, it makes no sense at all. But not that
it's funny though, because it wasn't De Blasio like a big Boston guy and Celtics fan and whatnot.
Yeah, but I mean,
I just seem like he did
I know, but everybody thought that once Adams was, he got elected, that he was going to lift this mandate, and he didn't. Even as ridiculous it is, even Adam Silver came out and said it's ridiculous. So that'll change. And listen, that's a well-rested Kevin Durant and a well-rested Kyrie Irving from not having to play the whole season. So I think their chances, but you know what? Don't dismiss Giannis, because this guy is an unbelievable basketball player, and he's the reigning champ.
Don't forget, I think also the other contenders like Miami and Chicago are also injured too. So that could be good and bad, because like I said, KD was out for a while. He's refreshed. Irving hasn't played that much. He's refreshed. But a lot of those guys like Butler on Miami, and I forget who's hurt on Chicago, one of their top 3. Once they get back, they're going to be refreshed too. So it should be a really interesting playoff season.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for, out west, I'm wholeheartedly rooting for Phoenix Suns. My guy Mark Bryant is an assistant coach there, seen the whole guy. So,
boy, you are a loyal guy.
I'm a loyalist.
I think out west, I think Phoenix clearly has the best team, and they can only get better when Chris Paul comes back from the injury and so forth. So, it's really a 2-team race out in the West. But I think you mentioned Chicago and those teams. They're really good and really competitive, but I don't think they're good enough to beat either the Nets or the Bucks. I think the Sixers are somebody that there is no way Kevin Durant is going to lose in a series to James Harden. No way in hell. So the NBA is starting to wind down. I think there's probably 15, 16 games left in the season. So
actually, the Knicks might be still in play for that 10 seed. Playing.
Okay, so they make the play-in round and they get knocked out in the first game.
Well, that makes Dolan, all right, we're making progress. I think Thibodeau is the wrong coach for that team, and good coach, long time.
Oh no question. Great
younger coach. That team needs a young, rising star as a coach, not an old guy, who's kind of like.
I don't know who is that guy though that can handle New York, right? We tried Fizdale, we tried all of this, and they eat you for lunch. Now last year Thibodeau was the greatest thing ever, and this year he's not. So here's one other point I wanted to bring up on the NBA. Greg Popovich, just passed Don Nelson on the all-time winningest NBA coach list. And I was looking at his career, and listen, he grew up under Don Nelson, and but he moves into the all-time. But what overall, when you think about it, what have the Spurs done in the past 10 years? Absolutely nothing. So you can't deny Popovich is a good coach, but remember, he had David Robinson, he had Tim Duncan, he had Tony Parker. These guys win championships. And even Popovich said, no Duncan, no championships. And he's right. But altogether, he did win a gold medal. it really doesn't mean much. Even he concedes it's basically longevity. You coach long enough, you're going to win games.
Longevity and a little bit of luck. Because the one year they were bad is the year, what's the name was available?
Oh, well, they let Leonard go. That kind of started the downfall, of San Antonio.
No, but the 1 year you already had the Admiral, and then oh God, what's it? I'm drawing a blank here. Duncan.
Yeah,
because the 1 year that they had the Admiral, and they're doing well. They had a bad season that lucked them into getting the draft pick, and it happened to be Duncan.
Yeah. Oh, and the rest is history, as they say, no doubt.
Yeah.
So the NBA winding down, and we'll catch up to that. And like I said, Steve will be back with us on the show next week. I know he's got some thoughts on the NBA as well. So Rob, let's move on to our random points of interest. We got a few of them here, and the first one I wanted to bring up was, and you asked about it before, whether or not there's been some blowback against Russian players. Well, here's a perfect example from a sponsorship. CCM, which is one of the big brand names in NHL and hockey equipment, has dropped Alexander Ovechkin as their brand ambassador, which is just like we said before. Is it warranted? No, I don't think so, but it's kind of politically correct, I guess.
Look what happened in Newark. The mayor or the council rescinded the business license for a couple of Luke Oil gas stations, right? Who are owned by independent American business people trying to make a living.
Right.
That's a little. I mean, that's a little crazy.
Exactly.
I mean, if it was a corporate franchise, maybe, but these are individually owned franchises by you and I, people like you and I.
Exactly. And again, does Alexander Ovechkin have anything to do with the invasion of Ukraine? No. I feel kind of bad for him on that. A couple things from random points of interest, right? Herb Street's going from ESPN, going to do the Amazon college football game. So he's kind of a rising star. I mean, I like Herb Street. I think he's pretty good for college football.
Just get me away from Booger McFarland. I'm good.
I don't think you're going to have to worry about that. Even though in the booth there's a couple other ones. Aikman's going to do Monday Night Football, and guess what? I think it was reported today Joe Buck is going to go with him. So,
did you watch Joe Buck in that Manning cast that Monday night?
I do not watch the Manning cast.
He was the biggest D word I've ever seen. Like, he just came across as like a pompous ass. Like,
well, he kind of is, but I will give him credit. He does know what he's talking about in a lot of different sports, but he can't do anything without Troy Aikman anymore. So he followed him to ESPN.
Hey, Jim, real quick, random thought for you. Random thought for you. Are you going to watch this USFL at all? Are you going to give it a shot in a month?
Absolutely not. No? Absolutely not. I don't. College football is to me the minor leagues of the NFL, and I'm big into college football. Tried this before. I have no interest at all.
Okay.
At all. Why you think this is something that?
Well, the only reason I'm going to watch, I'll tell you. I don't know if I can mention this to you guys. I started doing broadcasting live sports 6, 7, 8 years ago, and one of the first teams we've broadcasted for was Nassau Community College football. We had a little in, and the quarterback of one of the teams, his name is Ben Holmes, was drafted number 4 by the Generals. I met the kid. I know the kid, so I'm going to root for him pretty hardly because that's pretty cool to have somebody you've broadcasted for, and then he's now mind you, we've had some NFL guys. Ian Thomas, who's a tight end for Carolina, and Rasul Douglas, who's becoming a better quarterback, was also on that team. But it's pretty cool.
There's no question that there's going to be some guys, this is kind of considered a farm system, I guess, for the NFL. There'll be some guys that make it. This is the difference between this and the USFL of days past when we used to actually go to games. I saw Herschel Walker. I saw Jim Kelly. I saw Reggie White. I saw these guys play football. That's different. This is not going to be a competitive going up against the NFL type thing. It's more of a, entertainment value, but I don't think it's something I'm going to commit to.
Next year, if it lasts this year, next year will be interesting because then you'll have the USFL and the XFL going
Yeah, what is the XFL? Is that the new name for the lingerie bowl or something? I don't know.
By the way, I used to work for them a little bit back in the day. Yeah, I used to do,
that couldn't have been your worst assignment,
No, not at all.
Listen, a couple other quick random points. We were talking about Ovechkin, and Ovechkin actually scored and passed Jaromir Jagr as third on the list. I know Steve thinks he still has a legitimate shot at breaking Wayne Gretzky's all-time goal scoring thing, which I don't. He's 37 years old and he needs probably 160 more. So I don't think he's going to get there. But he passed Jagr, and the only two guys in front of him all time, pretty good names: Gordon Howe and Wayne Gretzky. So I wanted to note that. Here's another couple other quick little things. Wanted to give a shout out to a wrestler from St. Joe's. I know you're our high school guru. This kid Jimmy Mullen won his second heavyweight.
I saw that.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. That's some tough competition.
Did he beat the BC kid?
He did. He beat the Bergen Catholic kid and won his second state heavyweight. That's a tough division to win, and
yes,
he pulled that off in Atlantic City. And here was a crazy little point that I saw this morning. There was six West Point guys. One of them was a football player.
I saw that.
That OD'd on cocaine and fentanyl down in spring break. I mean, how crazy is that? Huh?
I mean, especially Army, because those guys, Army takes, with the Army that we know, West Point, they take the best of the best.
Yeah.
Smart guys, athletes, women, So to have six of them, just go wilding down in Florida is kind of crazy.
Yeah. I mean, this just gives you an idea of how prominent this situation is with, even particular, athletes, right? In general. I mean, it's very easy to fall into that rabbit hole. And unfortunately, I hope these guys get through it all, And Rob, one other last random point, and we always talk about, college baseball and, what a great start Rutgers is off to this year. My nephew, the pitching coach there. This girl, Jocelyn Alou, from Oklahoma, became the Hank Aaron of Division I softball with her 96th home run.
Wow.
And she did it against Hawaii, who didn't recruit her to play Division I. And now she broke the record. But she's, I guess, the Sadaharu O of college softball.
That's a lot. I mean, considering it's a limited season, right?
Yeah, we're getting close to the end, Oof. But I give a shout out to we give equal time to our male and our female audience members, right? So Rob, let's go into our random our notable passings, and there were a couple this week. I wanted to give a couple notes. Here's a name from the past. I don't know if you remember him, Ron Stander. Ron Stander was a heavyweight. He fought Joe Frazier. He fought Jerry Coetzee, and he fought all these guys, Ernie Shavers, and he got the shot against Joe Frazier because he beat Ernie Shavers. But this is going way back into the 70s, and when boxing was actually boxing. He passed away. He was 77 years old. Here's another one from the world of sports. Adalis Perez. He's a pitcher. Pitched for a long time, 10 years in the major leagues. Was only 44 years old. Died of a freak accident. Fell off a ladder in the Dominican Republic. But I remember him. He had a good run with the Dodgers for a few years. I wanted to give a shout out to also Johnny Greer, who was the first black referee in the NFL. And I remember Johnny Greer coming up, and he had a pretty good run. He was, how old was he? 74 years old. But, from a notable perspective, and he was a referee, and I don't know if he ever did a Super Bowl, but he certainly did a couple championship games. Here's a couple from the world of entertainment, and you'll get a chuckle out of this because Mitchell Ryan, he was Charlie McCoy in Dirty Harry movie. I think it was the first one, either that or Magnum Force. Great actor, did a lot of war movies, longtime Hollywood guy, 88 years old. If the name doesn't ring a bell, look him up and you'll go, oh my God, this guy's been in a million things. You know? Here's another one from the old Good Times show. Remember Jimmy Walker? The guy, he played Bookman, the janitor in that. Johnny Brown, 84 years old. He was pretty funny.
You know what's funny about that? I read something a few months ago about Good Times. John Amos, the actor, who's from The Oranges, I believe, he was so much younger than I guess they made him look older to match with his wife on the show because he was a much younger actor. That's why today you think he's, oh my God, he's still alive. No, he was much younger back then, but made to look older to fit the part of the husband in the show.
You're right. You're right about that. That was a kind of an odd thing, and he's still alive.
He still pops up on shows and movies. Yeah.
Yep. And here's one last thing, not even from sports, not even from entertainment, but you've had their product. You've had a box of Entenmann donuts before, right? You know.
Yep.
I mean, when a box of those came in our house as kids, they lasted about 30 seconds. But Charles Entenmann turned literally a bakery where he would deliver to houses into this monster bakery empire, and he was 92.
Oof.
Big flip. It gave a lot of money away back to Long Island and stuff. That's where they were headquarters, but he was 92. So anyway, Rob, thanks for jumping in today in Steve's absence, and excuse me, he'll be back.
What is Steve's assignment, by the way?
What's that?
What is Steve's assignment today? Where's he?
Oh, it's undisclosed, I think.
Wow.
It's a secret matter, and I think, if he's willing to talk about it next week, we bring it up on the show. I don't know. But listen, Rod, thanks for joining us. And again, as you guys see on the bottom of the screen, send us an email at sportswithmono at gmail.com. And, look for us on the I-95 Sports Network, Blackjack TV, YouTube, and SoundCloud. And,
by the way, Jim, real quick, we are I haven't gotten around to everybody yet, but we've decided we're actually rebranding I-95 Sports Network to Surge Sports.
Okay.
So working on the logo and stuff now. Had a little meeting with another of my inside guys who's a professor of sports management at Caldwell University, who advised me, you know what, I-95 doesn't really scream sports. So think of something more of a sports term. And I spent all last weekend online and different names, and you'd be surprised how many names you think are great sports names, and they are, but they're taken already. So Surge Sports kind of was one of the early ones I looked at, and I'm trying to pass it around a little bit. So that's going to be our new brand in a month or so. Okay, great. Looking forward to it. And that's where you're going to be able to find Sports with Mono and Mono. Yep. For sure. All right, great, Rob. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch up to you guys next week. Enjoy the weekend and enjoy Selection Sunday. Hope your Seton Hall Pirates get an at-large bid. And by the way, tomorrow is you switch clocks tonight, right? Yep. And it never fails that first Sunday where it's like 7:30 sun, it's like 20 degrees. I think it happens every year. It's like, oh, great. The sun's out later. We're going to freeze our butt off because it's a frigid day. But enjoy turn your clocks back, and we'll see you guys next week. All right, Rob. Thanks for joining us. Anytime, buddy. Thanks. Okay, bye.